everyone, my name is Sarah and today we're going to be learning about bees and what they do during a solar eclipse. So, do you guys know what a solar eclipse is? Well, a solar eclipse is when the moon passes in front of the sun so that you can only see a ring of light around the moon. It's really amazing and beautiful. I've never seen a total eclipse when the moon completely covers the sun, but I've seen a partial eclipse and it's very cool. So if you guys like astronomy or insects or anything in between, I suggest that you watch the end of this video. All right, you ready? Let's start. The first sentence is, for a lucky few, a total solar eclipse is a once-in-a-lifetime cosmic event. At any given location on Earth, totality, when the sun is completely covered by the moon, leaving only a ring of glowing rays around the edges, occurs only once every several hundred years. So here, the word cosmic event, that means something that happens in outer space. So, like I said, a solar eclipse is when the moon passes in front of the sun, so it becomes dark during the day, right? And this all happens because of the alignment of the sun, the moon, and the earth, and also, all the other planets and stars in the universe. So, the universe is so humongous, and our planet is just so tiny and small when you compare it to the galaxy and the sun and just all of these enormous things that exist beyond our comprehension. So it's very rare that on any particular place on Earth that you would have the perfect alignment where here's the sun, here's the moon, and here's your eyeball, right? It's because when a solar eclipse happens, it only happens on certain parts of the planet. It doesn't happen everywhere. So everything kind of has to line up very perfectly. So that's why we call it a once-in-a-lifetime cosmic event. Because usually if you stay in the same region for a long time, at maximum, you will see a solar eclipse once, maybe twice, in extremely rare circumstances throughout your entire life. And most people never get to see one for their entire lifespan. So it's very special. And there are two types of solar eclipses. One is a partial eclipse, where the moon passes just over a little bit of the sun. Not completely, it doesn't actually get dark, but you can see it and it is still very cool. We had a partial eclipse in my hometown a couple of years ago, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But then there's also a total solar eclipse, which is when the moon completely covers the sun and it becomes dark all of a sudden in the middle of the day. And I've heard it's a really amazing and spiritual and very cool experience. I definitely want to see one, at least once before I die. It seems like a really cool thing to witness. But yeah, so to sum it up, solar eclipses don't happen very often, and especially total solar eclipses. However, despite the fact that most bees never live to see a solar eclipse, their evolutionary programming gives them remarkably consistent instructions on how to respond. So let's take humans, for example. Like we just said, for most people, an eclipse is a once-in-a-lifetime cosmic event. And for most of human history, whenever a total solar eclipse did happen, the people who saw it did not know what was occurring, and a lot of times they totally freaked out, or they thought it was like a monster, or they thought it was God talking to them. There were all kinds of different responses. Some people were afraid, some people thought it was really amazing, but it's kind of inconsistent depending on the culture and the historical period during which the total solar eclipse occurred. So if humans react in all of these different ways to eclipses, even when it's actually more likely that they will witness one in their life because they live so much longer than bees, you would think that bees might do the same thing. You would think, maybe their evolutionary programming or their internal software in their body, it probably wouldn't have a specific set of instructions for how to deal with a total solar eclipse. But we would be wrong in that assumption. During a total eclipse, bees around the world go silent. This was suspected by scientists for decades, but was only confirmed during the Great American Eclipse of 2017, when researchers planted tiny microphones in flower patches to observe the reaction of insects during the eclipse. So scientists, they suspected, they assumed, or they guessed that, we think that bees don't buzz during solar eclipses. They guessed this, but there was no proof. But that changed during the Great American Eclipse of 2017. That's the one that I saw from my hometown. We did not get a total solar eclipse, but it was still really, really cool. And during the Great American Eclipse of 2017, the researchers put these tiny little microphones inside of flowers to observe what the bees were doing while the eclipse was happening. Before the moon passed in front of the sun, the bees could be heard busily buzzing away as usual while they pollinated flowers and traveled back and forth from their hive. So before the eclipse, it was just another normal day for these bees. They're going around to flowers, they're pollinating the flowers, they're going back and forth from their hive. That's where bees typically live. So nothing really special here. Just another ordinary day for these bees. But it was all about to change. When the area was suddenly plunged into darkness as the eclipse began, the sound of nearby humans oohing, eyeing, gasping, and clapping at the sight of the eclipse could be heard in the background. However, there was not a single buzz from the nearby bees. So these days, because humans know what a solar eclipse is, some people will actually, on purpose, they will travel to the location of the solar eclipse because they want to witness totality when the moon is completely covering the sun. And from what I've heard, again, I've never seen one myself, I really want to. It's really amazing to witness. And so when people see it, they go, ah, ooh, ah, or they'll clap or they'll gasp, and because they think it's so beautiful and amazing what they're witnessing. So on the little microphones inside of the flowers, you could hear all of this. You could hear the humans freaking out, having a really good time, and being really excited about the eclipse. However, there was not a single buzz from the bees. So the bees completely went silent. Isn't that kind of strange? The phenomenon of bees rendered speechless by total solar eclipses has been observed by citizen scientists around the globe in years since. So this phenomenon, or something that happens, like a sagwang, I think, it's when bees are rendered speechless. So usually when we use this expression, rendered speechless, that typically we're referring to a human who is so shocked, surprised, or amazed by something that they cannot speak. So it's a little bit of creative language here, basically saying that perhaps the bees are so surprised or amazed by the eclipse that they stop making sounds. I mean, most likely there's actually another reason, but it's just a little bit of creative language. And so this situation or phenomenon of bees not making any sounds, not buzzing, not hissing, not talking, doing nothing, it's actually been confirmed or observed by citizen scientists, so not professional scientists, but people who do science experiments just for fun, maybe in their backyard or at their school, around the globe in years since. So ever since scientists confirmed this in 2017, a lot of just non-professional amateur scientists have attempted their own observations, and these have occurred all across the globe for the past 3 years. However, Korean astronomy and insect enthusiasts might have to wait a while to hear, or rather not hear, it for themselves. The next total eclipse to pass over the Korean peninsula will not occur until 2035. So, it's a little bit unfortunate for those of us who live in Korea. I always thought that solar eclipses and, outer space, I always thought that stuff was really, really cool. I also think that South Korea is really cool. That's why I live here. But unfortunately, at least for the next 15 years, I gotta choose one or the other, because there's not going to be a total solar eclipse in Korea for another 15 years, until the year 2035. So, sad. Just to double check, the word astronomy means the study of outer space. So studying the stars, studying the planets, studying like astrophysics, that could all be described as astronomy. And enthusiast, that means someone who is very enthusiastic or really likes something. So someone could be an English enthusiast if they really, really like studying English. In this case, you could be an astronomy enthusiast if you really, really like learning about outer space. So there's all kinds of enthusiasts around the world. I'm curious, what are you an enthusiast of? Maybe these videos? It's okay, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so it's really cool that this was witnessed during the Great American Eclipse of 2017, but it's a little bit too bad for us that we probably can't see it in Korea for at least another 15 years, which actually is not that long in the grand scheme of things. All right, well, that's all for today's video. I hope that all of you enjoyed this lesson. I think this week's article was a little bit less difficult, perhaps, than some of our other articles that we typically do. Hopefully this was a nice, relaxing break for you. All right, well, I hope that all of you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all again next week. All right, bye!